everybody, this is Francesco Abbruzzino with a Rogue Rant, and this is a special Saturday edition. Why are we spending so much money on foreign aid? Since World War II, Americans have supported federal efforts to address global poverty and human suffering for political and natural disasters. Foreign aid is a noble endeavor that improves the United States' moral standing in the world, right? I think we all get and understand that. Sharing brain power and partnering with other countries leads to stable governments and healthy populations. I sincerely believe that this serves America's long-term security interests. After all, good health pierces poverty, goodwill preserves peace, right? When the U.S. doesn't have to worry about instability elsewhere in the world, it can better focus on itself and prosper. Now, solving or helping to resolve the world's woes would be great if financial aid only went towards solving the global poverty and human suffering. But this isn't what's happening now, is it? No. Much of the foreign aid is diverted to countries and then inadvertently put to use purchasing weapons for wars, which negatively impact poverty and only makes human suffering that much worse, folks. Just yesterday on Press TV, they put out that the U.S. government is spending taxes paid by Americans on accumulation of weapons for waging wars against the globe. I don't think this is news to us. It's something we all know. We just don't discuss or talk about. Prime examples of this can be seen over in the Middle East. Afghanistan, $60 trillion. Iraq, $64 trillion in aid. Now, these numbers substantially understate the U.S. support for the economies and the militaries of these two countries, including neither of the hundreds of billions of dollars spent on the U.S. war fighting efforts in these countries, which purchased substantial amounts in the local market, employed many of the locals out there, and led to unspeakably vast amounts of graft. Nor do the numbers include the military equipment declared excess and donated to the armed forces, which, if you're watching the news lately, the extremists are now driving around in Iraq. Then there's the fraud, waste, and abuse issue that comes along with many government programs. More than half of the Afghanistan's population is under 25, which shouldn't be surprising since the average lifespan there is only 49. But the United States Agency for International Development looked at the group and decided it needed help because these young people are disenfranchised, unskilled, uneducated, and neglected. This made them susceptible to joining the insurgency, which we do not want. So the agency chartered a 3-year, $50 million program intended to train members of the generation to become productive members of the Afghan society. 2 years into it, and the agency inspector general discovered that there was little evidence that the project had made progress towards its goals. Wow, really? Is everybody else as surprised as I am here? Whew. You wouldn't be if you watched the news just yesterday where Afghanistan bought a ton of boats. They're sitting, I think there was 5 of them. They're sitting in a warehouse in the United States. They don't even have any water around them. They're dry. So, what has all that spending accomplished, folks? The short answer is not so much. That is right. Despite billions of dollars in aid, state institutions remain fragile and unable to provide good governance, deliver basic services to the majority of their population, and guarantee human security. Foreign aid has a long track record. The biggest upside appears to be the injection of large sums of money into developing countries otherwise gripped by poverty, war, and conflict. One would think that, in theory, this aid would improve lives and raise people out of poverty, leading to sustainable growth and development. However, the unfortunate truth of all this is that foreign aid has often presented more challenges than opportunities to aid recipients. All the money we give out in foreign aid has led to small improvements across the globe, from reducing poverty to slowing population growth to curing and preventing diseases. I am here to tell you, folks, that the impact from aid has not been proportionate to the amount of money donated. Foreign aid's biggest downside is that no clear, effective system has been put in place to hold aid recipients and their governments accountable for resources illegally taken from the public sector's coffers. After all, impoverished nations do not come from going through the same long process that first world countries such as us have. Instead, it contains a top-down approach that promises great things like ending poverty. I believe that there are multiple reasons why the state-provided aid cannot bring nations out of the poverty. One, policymakers do not have access to the knowledge needed to allocate scarce resources to their best use. Aid creates the incentive for already dysfunctional governments to remain ineffective, and the government agencies tend to focus on spending money as quickly as possible on observable outputs to signal their importance and the need for more money. The current operations of aid to foreign countries fail because there's not enough supervision as to where the funds go or how the funds are to be spent. The real solution to these problems is the guarantee of a person's liberty and property for citizens in these impoverished nations. With this, human nature will do the rest. This has been Francesco Abbruzzino with a special edition of The Rogue Rant.